all of this stuff that's going on right now about controlling our minds, controlling our pocketbooks, controlling everything, well, you know, it's been happening in the background, right? Well, I've got news for you. For the last 100 years, since 1920, since something called the Flexner Report, the exact same thing has happened in medicine, but it's happened right in front of your face. And, you know, the best place to hide something is right in front of your face. Since the 1920s, the medical theater in the United States has been completely dominated by the MDs. Now, you know, MDs do not own medicine. MDs are trained in one aspect of medical science and one aspect of medical science only. And that aspect of medical science is really good for surgery, for trauma. You know, you got a bullet in your arm, you got a third-degree burn, or a handful of infectious diseases, but that's it. However, they have brainwashed you and me and everybody else in this country to believe that MD-directed medicine is the only medicine for everything and everybody else is a back-of-the-bus quack. And while we have let this profession control and monopolize the medical theater, our health has gone to hell in a handbasket. Autism rising, Alzheimer's rising, blood pressure rising, obesity rising, life expectancy falling. The leading cause of bankruptcy, medical bills. This is not because of financial profiteering by pharmaceutical companies. It is not because of insurance fraud. It is not because of anything other than one thing that only myself and Dr. Wallach are talking about. The reason we have a healthcare crisis in this country, the reason we're dropping like flies is because MD-directed medical treatments for chronic illness do not work. And the best thing that anybody in this listening audience can do, if you have a chronic health disease condition, if you have asthma, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, insomnia, heartburn, fire your MD now. Stop going to your MD. The only thing these people are good for is trauma, surgery, and a handful of infectious disease. I'm right there with you, brother. As bad as you think it is as far as government stuff going on in the background, it's 100 times worse with medical stuff going on right in front of our face and we don't even see it. Before the 1920s in the United States, there was a relatively level playing field. Nobody had the upper hand. You know, you had the chiropractors, the osteopaths, the homeopaths, the herbalists, and the MDs. And nobody really had the upper hand. But then the Rockefellers and the Carnegie Corporation specifically, they hired this guy named Adolf Flexner to go all around the country. And Flexner, it took him 5 years. Flexner did an inventory of all of the medical schools and hospitals in the U.S. that were prescribing drugs. And he brought that list back to the Carnegies. It's infamously called I'll think of it in a minute. The Flexner Report. The Flexner Report. And the Carnegies then gave millions of dollars of free money to the hospitals and the medical schools that were prescribing drugs, and that was the beginning of the end for all other types of medicine. They also glad-handed legislators in this country to pass laws that made it illegal to practice medicine unless you prescribe drugs. Now, most people today don't know that this happened. Most people today incorrectly assume that the MDs are the top dog in medicine because their therapeutics are safer, more effective, more scientific. That's not correct. The problem is with cancer and the problem is with chronic disease that the people that are in charge of our healthcare, the MDs, their philosophy of training, the MDs are not trained in medicine. MDs are trained in allopathic medicine. I'm not trained in medicine. I'm trained in naturopathic medicine. There's chiropractic medicine, homeopathic medicine. You know, there's a lot of different slices of the medical pie. The slice of the medical pie that the MDs are trained in is one very small section. And, you know, their view, their understanding of health and illness is seen through a lens. They're like colorblind art critics. MDs are like colorblind art critics. They can only see certain things, and they are blind to a great deal of information that makes their therapeutics fail. But their profession is so full of hubris and so arrogant and has been in the driver's seat for so long that they think their you-know-what doesn't stink. And so instead of reinvestigating their perspective, instead of reinvestigating their stance, their understanding of the genesis of disease, when their treatments fail, and let me tell you something, their treatments are failing all over the planet, instead of looking at themselves and, you know, taking a different tact, which a sane person would do, they blame the patient. Oh, it's not the doctor's fault. It's not the medical professions. It's not the MD's perspective. It's the patient's gene. It's got to be genetic. This is the greatest scapegoat that the MDs are using. And there's a point here that needs to be understood. The type of the aspect of medicine and health that MDs are trained in is one small aspect. So, for instance, let's say you and I had scurvy. Right? Scurvy is caused by not enough vitamin C. That's what causes it. And scurvy is a nasty, debilitating, horrifying disease, and it'll kill you. It's caused by not enough vitamin C. If you have scurvy, you take vitamin C, it goes away. If you went to a doctor and you had scurvy and that doctor did not know anything about medical nutrition, had zero training, zero respect, zero experience with medical nutrition, they would not know that it was a vitamin C deficiency disease. So they would throw drug after designer drug and surgery. Well, they don't know. This is the problem. The MD doesn't know. They don't know. They don't know. They're only trained in drugs and surgery. Look, I'm trained in drugs and surgery. Drugs are like guns. Nothing wrong with a drug. It's how it's used. The way that drugs are used by the MDs in the United States, it's the leading cause of death. Let me say it again. The leading cause of death in the United States are therapeutics delivered by MDs. It's more than heart disease and more than cancer. Well, there are 91 essential nutrients that the human body needs, or 90, depending on who you talk to. Let's say 90 essential nutrients. And you cannot get all 90 nutrients from food. It's impossible. You can't do it. So it is only a matter of time, unless you are supplementing with nutritional supplements made from good absorbable recipes. It's only a matter of time until your body runs out of something, and then something breaks. So you run out of vitamin C, you get scurvy. You run out of calcium, you get high blood pressure. You get arthritis, you get type 2 diabetes. The majority, over 95% of all chronic diseases are caused by nutrient deficiencies. That's what they're caused by. You don't get high blood pressure because you have a hydrochlorothiazide deficiency. You don't get arthritis of the knee because you don't have enough Enbrel in your body, and so forth and so on.
Or Vioxx.
The reason that the reason that chronic disease is generated is because your body has simply run out of the raw materials that it needs to fix itself. It's that simple. The tragedy here in the United States is that the medical profession that is in charge of our health, the MD-directed, pharmaceutical-centrist medical profession, they do not know this. MDs have no training, no appreciation, no respect, and no clinical experience with nutrition. So they don't know. The obesity, weight gain, is not a disease of excess. Obesity is a deficiency disease. Obesity is a deficiency disease. When your body runs out of the stuff that it needs, the 90 essential nutrients, it knows that it is running on fumes, and it is afraid because it knows your heart's going to go, it knows your liver's going to go, it knows your brain's going to go. So it forces you to eat in the desperate attempt to fill the nutrient tank up. But the food that you're eating doesn't have the nutrients in it that you need, and so you go to Olive Garden, you eat 2,000 calories, and 2 hours later you're hungry again. And then your MD tells you your stomach's too big, or you're lazy, or you don't exercise enough, and it's wrong.